Is mic. There we go. All right. Little mic issue. All better now. I am officially live. So, hey everybody. Great. Um so tonight I'm going to actually go through and talk about some motivations, fears, things like that. What inspires people, what motivates people. Oh, main camera full, camera 2. Does this still work? Hey, it does. All right. All right, back to the main camera. I've been playing with transitions too, in case you haven't noticed. All right, let me pull that up because I want to see. Great. There we go. Viewers chat roll. All right, I think I got everything configured and set up. So, cheers. All right, that was weird. All seems to be working. Okay. So I posted on LinkedIn and I was going to talk about distractions, team turmoil, and failures. And when you talk about negative things, people get really like, wait, do I need to pay attention to this? Is this going to be, hold on one sec. I'm going to actually do something. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Okay. So I was going to talk about distractions, team turmoil, and failures, and why that is way more important to you than it is for all of like motivation, team building, and successes, right? Or consistency or anything positive. A lot of things that grab your attention, all that clickbait stuff that's out there, including some of the stuff I write, all that clickbait is out there because it's creating a sense of fear, right? You're like, oh, am I going to miss something? Oh, I'm afraid of, like, FOMO is a real thing, right? I'm going to fear of missing out on something. Is it something I need to pay attention to that will actually endanger me if I don't pay attention to it? If I talk about good news and success and all of that, then people will be like, oh, that's interesting, and kind of tune out. But the goal of most posts or content or anything is about attention grabbing, which is kind of annoying because sometimes I don't want to grab your attention. I just want to help you succeed. And that's a positive thing. And there's a lot of positive motivation out there. But what grabs your attention is the fear. And it's because fear is the number one motivator of anyone. I took a leadership class. Actually, I've taken a lot of them, but a long time ago, before a lot of people I know were even born, uh, that talked about what motivates people. And there's four basic things that motivate people: fear, reward, respect, and conviction. And that's it. And I'll talk about each one briefly. Fear is pretty obvious. So, why is fear a motivator? Fear is a motivator because it actually protects yourself. It helps you to be aware of, I probably shouldn't go down that dark alley with that uh, crazy guy down there with a knife, right? That's probably something that you would be like, probably a good decision not to go down there. Fear is a motivating to not go down that road. Fear is also a motivator to actually do something of, if you don't do this, then this will happen. So there's consequences involved. And that's an early way that we learn what consequences are. And then when we're given them, there's actually a fear involved in that consequence. Whether that consequence be something physical or that consequence be uh, something emotional, the pain still is real. And that fear is what keeps you from doing it. Touching the hot stove is the most common example. Don't touch a hot stove. Well, why not? Touch hot stove, you get burned. You will not touch that hot stove again because you're afraid it will burn you. because your experience has taught you it will burn you. And that's fear. So let's talk about reward. What motivates people at work? A lot of times it's reward. And people are like, well, I don't really get rewarded at my work. Yeah, you kind of do, and you're not aware of it because you take it for granted. If you're working at a job and they are paying you a wage of some sort, that is your reward. Sure, the government takes a lot of it and taxes suck and all of that. However, being paid for a job is a reward. Also, there are other kinds of reward. There's general praise of people being like rewarded for something, winning a trophy, being employee of the year, getting a 5 year oh yeah, 5 year trophy. I think I got one back there. I got my Microsoft 5 year one back there. So those kind of rewards, right? Those are rewards. The next one is respect. So when when you're in a position of whether it be in hierarchy, I have a military background, and because of that, if a captain asked me to do something, I would almost always do it. Did say almost. Uh, if a private asked me to do something, I would kind of probably laugh at them and ask them who do they think they are. Right? And there's a hierarchy because I have a certain level of respect for that hierarchy. So if somebody has a higher rank than me, I will follow my direct order from a commanding officer. That's the military, right? That respect is inherent in the ranks. Very, very important. In corporate environment, there is still a hierarchy, whether you acknowledge it or not. And the founders and CEOs and the C levels have a certain innate uh, level of respect just because of the role they're in. Not necessarily anything else in some cases. I have worked at some startups where, actually, there is one that I worked at uh, where the CEO was just, how can I say, really unorganized is the best way to put it. Completely unorganized. No one really respected any of the ideas that were coming from him. And he was just not a good visionary, good leader. And because of that, no one respected him. So no one did anything he said. The company obviously failed and he went his own separate way. However, I have also had the opportunity where you work with amazing C-level people who, sure, they get the respect because of their title, but they also are actually leading in a very positive way. And they're leading by helping, and they're leading by supporting, and they're leading with actual direction and focus. And all of that comes from that leadership, and that builds respect. A lot of times people like respect needs to be earned. Well, in the military, it doesn't. You just have the rank and you're going to get respected, or they're going to get an Article 15 for insubordination. Anyway, so understand that there is that level of respect, but the best way to get respect from someone is to have a certain level of, uh, I guess, morals of showing up on time, have a good work ethic, and actually do your job, right? Be competent at what you're doing, being able to help them succeed in their job. As a manager, that's one of the big jobs that I actually want to do for my team is I love when they learn new things and they're like, "Hey, I want to play with dot 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 some new technology or some new idea or some I don't know, some new tech generally." And I was like, "Cool, let me know how it goes." Rather than, "Well, you shouldn't be doing that," or "We don't have time for that," or that. You got to let people have that opportunity to grow and learn and educate. I'm not saying every day is going to be a play day, but I'm saying you have to give them that time for innovation to actually happen. Because if they're always on a day to day going towards a burnout road, then you will never get innovation, you will never have a creative team, and you will never produce amazing teams and amazing products. So that's three, and that's respect. So respect just comes over time, or it can actually be based off of title. And the last one is conviction. And the way it was described to me, and I remember this very well, is conviction is doing the right thing even though no one is looking. And I was like, oh. And there's another phrase that I really, really liked that I thought was fascinating. And the way it was described was uh, do a good deed and try to get away with it. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, people do good deeds for other people mainly for the reward, right? They want other people to know that, oh, I am doing volunteer work for blah blah blah. I am helping, I'm working in this soup kitchen. I am actually doing this for Earth Day. I am uh fostering animals. I donate to this or all of that. Whatever it is, a lot of people do that just for the recognition of it rather than to actually help the nonprofit organization or the individual or whatever it is. That's why I always like that. If you're going to do a good deed, try to do it anonymously. Because if you do a good deed with absolutely no reward, then your intention of actually doing it is the right intention, right? Because you're trying to help somebody. And there will be a lot of, you'll have so many opportunities in your life to make some amazing choices. And some of those choices will allow you to make a decision without anyone else knowing about it. So, what decision are you going to make, right? Are you going to do the selfish thing? Are you going to do the altruistic thing? Are you going to do something in between, right? There's a lot of gray areas in regards to that. But those are the four that motivate people, and that's the motivation. And that's why I started off about distractions, turmoil, and failures. And the reason I talk about that is because of the fear factor involved in that. Hell, there was a whole show that was all called Fear Factor that was everyone tuned in. Why? Because they were actually wondering about what would actually happen. Just crazy. So, great. Another great example is all the reality shows in regards to that. Imagine if the reality shows actually had no conflict. Everyone was a supportive cast member or reality show TV member. Uh, I'll use The Bachelor. If everyone, if all the women on The Bachelor were great friends and really supportive of the one that got the first impression rose and the one that got the single date card, they're like, oh, good for you. I'm excited for you. I'm sure it's going to go great. I can't even say that with a straight face. Um, because it's silly, because no one would tune in for that, because it's boring. But success for a lot of people is very, very boring. But that's how success works. You remove all the drama. You have a ship going all in the same way. Everyone's working on the same goal together. There is nothing else that is more exciting than being part of a team where everyone on the team is going the same way. It's great. I've experienced it. I live it. It is so much fun when everyone is like, hey, I can help with that. Cool. And it's a little off putting initially when you have a lot of previous negative experiences. But when you have that positive experience on a regular basis, you're going to be amazed on how great a team can be. So that's the motivation part of thing, what motivates people. Team building, right? So you're going to have a bunch of different team members. There will always be a human dynamic when you have multiple team members. Person A doesn't like person B, person C doesn't like person D doesn't like person A. Okay, great. You're going to have that. There's going to be conflict. I don't know how to say this in a nice, kind, gentle way. Do not hide your conflict. Don't let it marinate. at night and you go home and complain about X, Y, or Z, and it's going to drive you nuts. Face it, bring it out to the open and address it. That solves so many problems. Uh, there is, I'm going to make a really odd reference here, and I'm sure some of you are going to be like, oh, that makes sense. So, for those who know who Eminem is, should be most of the people watching this. So, Eminem did a movie called 8 Mile, and he was a battle rapper and was doing this all in the streets of Detroit, 8 Mile, blah, 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 right? So, in the last, or one of the last battle raps he did in that movie, he talked about all of his negative traits and addressed them before anyone could attack him. He brought it all to the light about, yeah, he lives in 8 Mile. Yes, he lives in a trailer park. Yes, my mom is addicted to drugs. And he went on and on. And then he literally dropped the mic and said, go ahead, tell them something they don't know about me. And anything that guy was going to do to battle him was destroyed. Uh, Interesting reference to use Eminem as a model for team building. But what he did is brought his all of his negative traits to the surface and said, "Hey, this is me. What do you got?" And I thought that was great. And I'm a huge Eminem fan, phenomenal lyricist. Anyway, I won't talk about the whole rap scene and everything I think about it today, but huge fan of Eminem. And I thought what he did in that scene was just life changing because by doing that, he brought all of his negative characteristics, unashamed, brought it all out, let it be in front of an entire audience, and there was nothing else that could have happened. So when you're having a team, right, and you have, like, let's say you don't like person A and person A doesn't like person D. There are times, and I want to bring this up. There are times that if they're in the same room together, it might not turn out well. That is a case by case basis. I'm not saying put those people in a room and let them figure it out. That will not work in a lot of cases, depending on how far that conflict has already escalated. But that's why there's literally a role called a mediator that will actually come in when you have that kind of level of conflict. But if the conflict is just starting to brew, it's like, oh, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe she said that, blah, blah. If it's just at that level initially and you address it immediately, you will be surprised at the solutions that will be presented. Whether the solution comes from person A or person D, or you as the mediator, it might come from that person too. Who knows? But addressing things sooner than later is really, really important. There is so many egos that get involved when you're actually trying to build a team, and everyone wants to be seen and everyone wants to be heard, and I understand that. But there are certain times where you need to elevate over that as a bigger general purpose, especially in a company, that general purpose is more important than the individual. And you go, as a company, this is the direction we need to go. And that is the kind of direction that you get with amazing CEOs and amazing leaders. And it elevates the entire organization. And it's really fun to watch when you have that leader and that leader is presenting that to the organization. And then everyone in the organization is sitting back like this. And then their arms start to go down. And then they're like, oh, wow, they have a point. Oh, and then yeah, and then the side talk starts to be like, I think we can do that. I think we can do that too. I think, hey, let's go figure out how we're going to solve this and this. And if this is the company's problem, I think we can solve that. And then everyone gets behind it and inspired. And that's really, really important. You're going to have uh, peaks and valleys when you're on a team, and any kind of team dynamics always happens. There is a lot of sports analogies that you can make in regards to team building and like being part of a uh, team of some sort, uh, whether it be basketball, football, baseball. You know, the team as a collective will win more games than a single individual. It's just facts. And once you realize that, okay, you have a single individual who is amazing, but that single individual cannot beat everybody on the team, on the other team individually. They'll need to pass the ball. They will need to defend. I guess I'm thinking of linemen, right? So linemen need to actually protect the quarterback. And then receivers actually need to play their role so the quarterback has somebody to throw to. In basketball, not everyone can be a point guard. You're going to need some forwards. But everyone has their role. And once people start gelling and figure out what their role is, then they will actually elevate at a much higher level as a team. So when you're starting to build teams and things like this, I forgot the name of the algorithm, but it's something like, I mean, the name of the acronym, but it's uh, form. That's what it is. It's form, storm, norm, and then perform is the new one. So when you're building a team, first thing you do is form a team. Great, you have a team. When you have that team, it's going to be very stormy, is the way they like to describe it. And you'll have all of these uh, arguments and poor decisions and a lot of confusion until everyone figures out where they fit in that new team. Then they'll normalize across the entire team. And everyone will be like, oh, I'm going to help here and I'm going to help there and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Great. So now you actually have this normalized team. Then when you have that normalized team, then you can actually ask them of, hey, what do you think you're doing that is working really well? Oh, we really like doing this, but we hate doing that. Okay, let's stop doing the thing you hate for a little bit and let's see how that plays out. And you'll start allowing them to actually accelerate their own performance. Generally, when you hire people, it isn't because you're hiring them because they're complete incompetent people and they don't know what they're doing. You hired them because they're competent, they're intelligent, and they have a unique skill set that you're looking for. That's generally why you hire people. By doing that and then taking away their autonomy to actually be able to show you how great they actually are, then you're literally stifling any type of empowerment that they may have had coming in the door. You're making them fearful of any decision they may make because you're going to overstep them. And that's where micromanagement comes in. So a lot of people will go into them, oh, you're doing this all wrong. Well, you got to pause, and it's perception versus perspective, right? Are they doing it wrong or are they doing it differently? And there are people that you are going to hire that will not do things exactly as you would want them to be done. But that doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. They're just doing it differently. And that difference might be what makes them a better engineer in that case, right? They might know something that you don't. They might have a new library or new technology that you are not familiar with yet. And just because, oh yeah, what's that phrase? Oh, but we've always done it that way. Well, if you say you've always done it that way, then you're very closed minded and you're not open to new ideas. And you're going to lose. If you don't know the why you've always done it that way, then you got to change. Try something else. Be crazy, take the risk. Try something you weren't sure of. You'll learn so much by doing it. And the more you try things and fail, don't worry, you will fail, but you'll learn from every one of those failures. And once you fail, you'll be like, okay, that was the wrong decision. Let's not do that ever again because that was either on a scale of 1 to 10, that was like a 2 on a failure. That's not so bad. oh, that was a 9 on a failure. We lost 3 clients and production went down, and I have no idea what happened to our data, right? Horrible day if that happens. So you got to take your risks, and there's risk management tools, and there's ways to actually like security risks, and then there's threat modeling, and there's so many different tools out there specifically for engineers, right? I'm the startup guy and I love engineers. Uh, but there's a lot more to it than just that. And it's across all teams. So by building all of those different teams with the lack of fear to take those kind of risks, then you'll be amazed at the teams that you'll create. And some of the solutions you'll come up with won't be your solutions. They will be the team solutions, or it might be an individual on that team that says, hey, I want to try this. Okay, try it. Did it work? Uh, I think so. Great. Prove it. And then let them go deeper and deeper when they start getting more successes. When somebody first comes on a team, and let me talk about this too. When somebody first comes on a team, the first thing you need to do is set them up for early wins. If you don't set them up for early wins, they will feel like they will never dig out of the hole day one. You have to give them early wins. You have to let them work with another engineer to help them along the way. You have to give them that opportunity to actually understand what success feels like in this team. Because success in this team and success in that team might be significantly different. But you got to give them those early wins to build their confidence to actually be able to take those risks and then be able to ask the hard questions. And when they ask those hard questions, then you'll get real responses from people and you'll start building that trust that I had talked about originally. And once you have that trust with your team, then you'll be amazed at what you can do. Truly, like you'll be amazed at what your engineers can do, what any of your team members can do. Anyway, um, it has been, oh wow, I'm right on time. So sorry I started a little late, but this is going on the half-hour mark. And just wanted to talk about some of the things that motivate people, what inspires people, and then team building, because I love building teams. I have done it multiple times, and it's really fascinating to watch uh, new teams form and then watch them outperform anyone you've ever worked with. I am I'm pretty happy with the engineering teams I've worked with and truly amazed by what they're capable of when you just point them in a direction and you just leave them alone. Don't micromanage people. It's condescending, it's mean, it's rude. Uh, don't let other people bully other people in your organization. If you hear about it, solve it fast. And it doesn't take a lot to destroy an organization. And it's really fascinating when you have a team that all is working in the same direction across the entire organization. People first. I really believe that. Always have. Cool. Uh, that's all I had for tonight. I just wanted to say thanks for tuning in. For those who were able to make it tonight, I will be back on Thursday. Tonight I didn't do much coding. I didn't do any coding actually. Just talked about team building, but I will probably get back into some of the coding. I noticed Google Domains recently has been acquired by Squarespace, and now all of this domain registration, everyone's like, "Hey, weren't you on Google Domains? Weren't you on Squarespace? Or weren't you on like Namecheap is another one, GoDaddy is another one?" Maybe I'll talk about actually how to set up a domain, some of the best DNS providers out there, and then what kind of website you want to do, like Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, all of those. So maybe I'll do that on Thursday. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to y'all soon. Have a good night.